with MomDelights.com. Thanks for watching. I hope today I can answer some of your questions as I answer the questions of one of my readers who left me a message. And so this is the first question she has. It is, why do you use the Revised McGuffey after the second reader? I have a set of the original that we use and am trying to figure out if I should buy the Revised for the upper levels. Okay, so first of all, I have to explain this so that you won't feel so totally lost, okay? Because lots of people aren't familiar with McGuffeys at all. Okay, so first of all, the McGuffeys were written originally in the 1830s by a man named William Holmes McGuffey, and he was a Presbyterian minister. He had been teaching since he was the age of 14. So he was very accustomed to teaching young children. He did these brown ones that were originally put, like I said, in the 1830s. Now, I cover mine with plastic to keep them. I mean, I've used this with like 6 children or something like that, and so far, and so they've really held up because I put plastic on. So I'm sorry for the sheen. But anyway, I just could not do without these McGuffey Readers. They are so amazing. Okay, they have pictures. The pictures are kind of rough, but I mean, there's something charming and sweet. One of the reasons I like these is because they are gradual, they're logical, they have constant repetition and reinforcement of simple words, spelling words, and they're sweet. And they're interesting. I mean, and they're overtly evangelical, which I really love. So, like, this second reader is just beautiful. However, after the second grade level, the third reader, now, another thing, these readers are not according to grade levels that we think today. For some reason, you know, back in the one-room schoolhouse, you didn't have everybody segregated according to first grade, second grade, third grade. So whenever somebody finished the first book, they went on to the second book, and that was like their graduation, but it wouldn't be equivalent to what we do today. The third grade level in the original brown ones makes this huge leap in difficulty and also in seriousness. Some of the subjects in the third level, I think, is probably more high school, I don't know, but it kind of are even morbid, some of the stories. And so they were kind of hard for my kids to get through, and I felt like I was, you know, making them do those stories. It just wasn't any fun. However, there is another set of McGuffeys. They're called the Revised. There are actually a number of revisions of the McGuffey Readers. Now, these weren't directly overseen by William Holmes McGuffey. He was dead by the time these were put into print in the 1890s. The stories in here, they're not overtly evangelical, but some people have said that they took out Christianity completely, and that's not true. The stories are moral. There are poems about the greatness of the Creator. There are whole poem passages of Scripture still included. Okay, so definitely Christian books. One of the reasons why I like these better for the third grade is the interest. There's so much more interest. Also, you know, there are some really neat engravings included. That's not the prettiest one, they're the better ones. And also it has cursive, because a lot of my kids, by this point, they're wanting to learn cursive, and I think that's, I didn't used to think that cursive was any big deal, but I've learned since. So you have the advantage of learning what I had to learn by hard knocks. Okay, anyway, so those are the reasons why I switch. So I hope that answers your question. Now, the second question she has is this. I bought your record book, and that is this. This isn't as nice as the one you'll find on Amazon. This is my beta version that I've used, so you have to forgive me. But it's pretty much like this, isn't it? I think it's still cute. But I bought your record book, but I feel overwhelmed with the idea of trying to record all of the learning activities and school that goes on each day for each person. And I totally get that. In the past, I've had each child fill out a tracking sheet in each week where they mark off the basics. They give a little check mark in, and that makes sense. Oh, my computer went blank. Come on, come back, computer. Okay, there it is. All right. So she's, okay, but there isn't a place to record all the many things that go on all day long that are beneficial and learning opportunities. And see, that's where this comes in. There's nothing wrong with what she's talking about. I mean, this book is not meant to be used in any one certain way. Like, okay, guys, if you're not recording every little jot and tittle, then, you're not, that's not what it's, this is supposed to be for freedom and for a help. So, like, if you look on one of the first pages here, I will show you. You can look at, uh-oh, now you know the truth about me. Okay, so anyway, so like what I have here is I'll put a whole bunch of different activities in the same entry. If you'll see right here. Okay, so what I have there is church, praise, pastor, coward. That's our pastor. Better together, report from orphanage in Guatemala. Well, I think it's important to include like reports from orphanage because we're learning about different cultures, happenings around the world. We pray, our church deals with a lot of current events. So I'm counting that for world studies, right? These are people that are actually traveling there. They're dealing with indigenous peoples and all that. I think it's really kind of cool. And so then I put that in all one. And then on the next entry I have bike ride, water play, ride up and down the hills on bicycles, of course. Hose and bucket, squirt guns, and I'm counting that as some STEM, okay? And so, and physical activity. So I can put that all in one entry. And then I can put, sometimes also, like I might have a listing, let's see, we had a huge hailstorm, and I'm talking about all the different things we were all learning together while this was going on in the aftermath of it. And so sometimes I will put, like if it's this particular thing, I might put a line full of all kinds of stuff that we've been doing, and then I'll put a little initial in a circle to show which person was doing each thing. So see, it's really kind of like a shorthand version, or I can make it as long and descriptive as I want to as well. It just depends on what I'm feeling like that day. Sometimes it's like, okay, you're fly-by parenting, like, okay, sit down, go do this. Okay, I've got and you're doing 1,000,001 things at one time. How moms say we have eyes in the back of our head, we have 8 arms, like that. So some days it's really like that, and so I just go, and then other days I'm just feeling really, sentimental and, oh, isn't life wonderful? And I have like a night, I'm actually drinking a hot liquid. And I'm sitting there and I'm just gonna, it was so beautiful. Yeah, anyway, so sometimes I have that time, but lots of times, no, it's not happening. So don't feel bad. Use it, whatever works for you. This is your thing. It's your book. It's not Sherry's book. It's not Sherry's way. I mean, if you want to do something totally different, have fun with that too. My daughter, actually, who homeschools, hates that I put these subjects up here. She wants me to make one without the subjects, right? So I get that. Maybe in the future we will do that too. Okay, Rebecca? Listen, you're going to hear more from her too. Okay, so that's the second question. Here's the third one. Why do you feel it's necessary to do formal grammar in addition to McGuffey? Lots of solid reading and regular writing. In other words, I think what she's trying to say, if your kids are already immersed in the English language, why do you need to do formal grammar as well? Okay, I'm probably in the younger grades. It's probably. I know there are different views on this. I haven't done formal grammar and wondered if you feel like Long's language gives them something they won't get otherwise. I'm still trying to figure out this because it's definitely not my strong suit. I recently discovered Winston grammar after reading some of Dr. Moore's materials, and Dr. Raymond Moore, I really appreciate him. So if you can get a hold of his stuff, read it. I'm hoping that having my older ones work through that will help cover their bases. My thoughts. Okay, so I think what she's referring to is this Long's language, or gentle grammar is what we're calling it. We adapted Long's language and we're selling these. These are so pretty. Oh, anyway. So I understand what she's trying to say. Okay, so the Charlotte Mason idea, everybody's idea is like, kids will be immersed in language and it'll just like happen. Not always. Sorry. My experience is, like, especially my little kids, they need me to help them to figure out what is a sentence. what do? You have to put a capital at the beginning, a period at the end. If it's a statement, if it's a question, you need a question mark. You need to have some completeness. You can't say the dog. That's not a sentence. Or you can't say the dog and the cat, and we went here and we did this and we did this and we did this. So I think little kids need somebody to actually give structure to how they write. It helps them. And so that's what gentle grammar is. But gentle grammar is not grammar in the way we think of grammar. It does not say noun. You have to have a subject and predicate, noun, verb. Here's a subject pronoun. Here's a predicate. Here's an object pronoun and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't do that to kids. I mean, there's another book my girls are using because we're like in a major life transition right now. And this grammar is crazy. I mean, my little 9-year-old, she goes, "What does this mean, Mommy?" You know, I mean, if you just said, "Just do this," she would understand it. But I try to get, jargon is awful for little kids. They don't need that confusion. So anyway, so that's why I love these, because look, this is such a thin little thing, right? It's only 60 lessons, and they're like, it's 10 minutes a day, and it just helps them not to be as frustrated, okay? However, now, I don't agree that children need grammar from 8 years on up. I don't agree with that. However, my kids in high school, like junior high-ish, high school, I give them this. This is Harveys Grammar. And it gets real jargonish. And, you know, it has how you diagram sentences. It teaches you to diagram sentences. Gives you a couple ways to do that. My kids pretty much went through that. And it was very helpful. And it's really short and sweet, too. The lessons in here, like 10 minutes a day, max. Okay, so that's what I do about that. All right, here's the fourth question. Do you require certain reading or let your children choose freely from the good books you have? I find that some of my kids never end up choosing to read books on science or various history when left to their own interests. There you go. To direct them. Just wondering what you do. Now, okay, do I get that or do I get that? Yes, I get that. Kids like, okay, well, so two things I do. One thing is, if we're going to choose a book, let's say at the library, I have parameters. Okay, I say you can choose any book you want to read except, and your parameters might be different than mine, but for my kids, especially when they were little, they wanted to get, my little girls always wanted to get the Disney princess books to count as their books, okay? Disney, you know, and, you know, I like Snow White, I like Cinderella and stuff like that, but sometimes it was, or Barbie books, okay, Barbie books were big. And some people would say, well, at least they're reading, but I found that if I put parameters and I said, nope, they would find something else to read and it would be better. Okay, now I'm not, all with balance, I mean, you know, but pretty much that's what I did. I was really a strict mom that way, and it turned out quite well. Okay, second of all, sometimes, yes, I will require them to read a book. Currently, we're studying the Middle Ages, and if you go to my blog, momdelights.com, you can find it'll have a free download of my Middle Ages study guide, and it will have, and it uses almost all free domain books that you can get off of Heritage History. Okay, and it's amazing stuff. Okay, amazing. Right? We are just having so much fun. But anyway, so I have like a book at a time, and I require them to read like 4 chapters in a week. And they're so easy. So yes, I do have some required reading, but I do not believe in taking a kid and making them read so much required stuff that they just totally burn out and they hate reading for the rest of their lives, or they never want to see a book again, or they, you know, this happens a lot to people who are trying to really do a lot of college. I've heard like a couple, 3 accounts of people that after they got out of college, the people would tell them, hey, once you go through this course, you'll never want to read a book again. And it's almost, this one lady said that she cried tears of joy when she was actually, like a couple years after she'd gotten her degree, then she finally sat down and she was actually reading a novel and she couldn't believe it, she was crying. So I don't want to do that to my kids. I don't want to be a torturous, okay? So the books, okay, but we still have this dilemma, right? There are books we want them to read, but they're not reading them. Okay, so here's 2 things. I sit and I will read aloud to them these amazing books that they would never pick for themselves, and they start really getting into, at first they go, you know, like that, but after we really get into it and they really start getting through that, I'd say, well, we can't read to the kids. Mom, you gotta read that book. I wanted to find out, so they get into it, and then what that does is it develops their tastes, you see. So then we move from the desire for the princess books over to the desire for these other things like Little Women and Jane Austen, because we have developed their tastes. See, I think that's a very Charlotte Mason idea. So anyway, I hope this answers the questions of the person who asked them, and also I hope it helps you in some way. I mean, even if you just got a good laugh, right? All right. Well, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.